Good evening, and welcome to this session on sustainable menstruation practices organized by the Mayo Girls Alumni Association. As responsible citizens of the world, we all want to know what is it that we can do as individuals to save the environment. So we got together with one of our own, Nandini Sultania from the batch of 2014, to organize this session this evening. Nandini has an interesting journey, and she will, of course, be giving us glimpses of that journey during the evening's discussion. Briefly, though, Nandini runs an organization called Kamakhya, started just before the pandemic in January of 2020 with the blessings of Mrs. Smriti Irani, our Minister for Women and Child Development. Through her organization, Nandini has held hundreds of sessions offline as well as online to encourage thousands of women to switch to biodegradable products during their period. I, for one, am very interested to know what is it that I can do next month that will help me make a difference to the environment. So ladies, let's hear what Nandini has to say about this.
I would just ask any one of you to tell me that how are you disposing these pads every month? Like from your washroom, like how are you putting it out of your house? So can anyone can unmute and just say that, how are you disposing it out of the house? In a newspaper and then in trash. So, but when you put it in trash, how are you then wrapping it again to send it out? Wrap it in a newspaper, put it down in the garbage, this thing to, yeah. So what we say newspaper, but I think we're missing out the main part. What we do in India here is we take a black big polythene, we put all our used sanitary napkins there, and that's when we give it out to a garbage man. So we're using a 90% fully plastic pad, then we wrap it with 100% plastic on top of that, and then we give it to the garbage man. And what does the garbage man do? It takes it directly to the landfill and just leaves that packet there. So definitely that 10% cotton, which is also even there in this pad, does not even go down to the soil because it's in a black polythene, which is 100% plastic. So that is one factor of, what is happening with these pads. Second, when Pujadi said that, how does it does not look plastic. So now let's break down two things. Now, can you see the size of these? Okay, so it will look very similar to those takeaway burger boxes to you. Now, when you go back to your pads and try feeling, these sides will look very similar to that. So it's actually made out of styrofoam. So those boxes, jisse banta hai styrofoam. So these sides are made out of that. So that is one factor. Second, obviously, we spoke about how it's bleached. Yeah, so Neha, it has in so NUA has an individual packing of each this thing, but still, NUA is not biodegradable. So even if it goes to the landfill, we're not doing anything good to it. And the second thing is obviously it's bleached. Now, third is we always hear these gel technology factor here, and it's showed on the TV ads ki ek boond dalo, and absorb ho jata hai. So before I tell you what exactly happens, this I would really request everyone to participate. In ml, can you tell me, so, kitna blood in one cycle do we do? So let's assume in a cup. So let's say a normal cup. So let's say ml, it can be 100, 200, 300 ml. Like just a wild guess. 15 to 20 ml. Okay. Any wild guess? And I would really request everyone to like participate in this to like guess how much blood genuinely we take out in 5 days. So the entire cycle, not one day. Others, guys, it's just a guess, so it's nothing like you have to be right. 100 to 150. I'm gonna say if we can all just put leaving Akansha and Pooja, the others also. 100, 150, 15 to 20 ml. Anyone else wants to make? I've heard around it's 3 teaspoons. No, for sure it's 30, 40 ml. 50 ml. Okay. Yes, I'm not asking as a thing that you should be aware about. I think this is an awareness session. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do while guys, yeah. 100 ml. Okay. So what exactly I'll tell you. So an average, we only bleed 50 to 60 ml in one cycle. But most, lot of us think, कि बहुत bleeding है, heavy bleeding है, कितना खून निकलता है, इतने pads change करने पड़ते हैं, इतना pad दिख जाता है. That is what we always feel. And we say कि we are changing 4, 4, 5, 5 pads a day, so we are a heavy bleeder. So if someone is a heavy bleeder also, they cannot menstruate more than 80 ml. So if you start menstruating 200 ml or 100 ml or anything, then you really need blood to be, you need to be hospitalized, and you need blood to be transmitted to you. So why does that happen is, this gel technology does not absorb, it just spreads. So when the blood comes here, it just spreads on your pad. So that's when you feel that you're bleeding a lot. So if you guys want to do an experiment, you guys can take any color water with a dropper and just put it on a unused pad. So that is an experiment you can do with the gel technology. So this gel is actually doing nothing. It's just a marketing TV ad stunt to say it absorbs. So when someone who is a cloth pad user and a cup user, they'll realize. Like for me, I would tell myself I'm a heavy bleeder. I'm genuinely am. But when I use cloth pads, I do not change 3 a day. But this time I was very unpredictably, I got it, but I had to change like some 6 pads in a day because this time I was traveling. But my period cycle, obviously my bleeding did not become double, with me using just a pad and a cloth pad. So that is the difference. So we spoke about the gel factor, we have the styrofoam, this, and also now the fourth main thing is, I think all of us, and especially all of us from Mayo, so we know that we always get to know whoever sitting next to us is on periods. Like, we get this pungent smell, and then we ask the other person next to us saying, oh, are you on periods? So we get to know in a class, wherever we're sitting, that, that someone is on periods. So that is not because of a period blood actually being stinky. That is, we have acetone, which is used in the nail paint removers, put in our pads. So our blood, which comes out with the uterus lining, is acidic in nature. And we have these chemicals placed here in the pads. So when the blood goes, and the moment that drop of blood, comes in contact of the pad, it automatically oxidizes. So when it oxidizes, automatically that weird pungent smell starts coming out of it. So this we've seen a difference when we use biodegradable pads. We don't, and so we don't have this smelly kind of tendency around period girls or menstruating girls, because you'll see when you're menstruating and you're putting those used pads in your bathroom. So when you'll go around in the bathroom, also you'll keep smelling something. Pads ke smell aa rahe, used pads ke. That's because obviously your blood has been fully oxidized by then. So when so that's when Pujadi, when you said that, you started feeling so much of irritation and all, is because imagine you using the plastic on the most sensitive organ of your body with so much of chemicals. So then it starts generating heat. And then you start getting rashes, you start getting dryness. That's what starts happening. So that's when people start feeling. And so Noah and Aza are two brands which claim themselves that you will not get, and this is organic cotton. So when they say organic cotton, the cotton they're using is organic, but they're not saying it's plastic free. So I think we should be very careful with what each company this demands. So Aza initially started calling themselves as eco-friendly, but now they just claim it's rash free, because they have claimed, we've had a lot of conversations with them. They've said that, we 90% plastic free, but we do have 10% plastic. So it's our responsibility to actually understand and read labels properly before we assume that something is eco-friendly. So I think that is, okay, is that inclusive of uterus lining? Yeah, so that's inclusive of uterus lining. And we don't have, evident uterus lining coming out. Whenever your ovary breaks down in the uterus, it combines in your uterus, and then only it comes out of the cervix. So, I mean, this is a question we ask everyone. After getting to know that this is what is there in your pad, okay, are you even trying? are you interested to make a conscious switch, not even let's say for environment, but for yourself right now? Because till the time you guys are actually not interested, even if you talk about products, it's not going to be helpful. So I'm expecting you guys to just write down in the chat, that, you guys want to like know about the products and you guys want to make a switch to it. And also we have 3 products which we'll be talking about. The first is the biodegradable pads, disposable biodegradable pads. The second is the cups, and the third is the reusable cloth pads. So if you guys have a think, we want to hear about this product first, we can also have that voted. If someone wants to go with cups first, or let's say biodegradable cloth pads. I would like to know more. Not sure of this. So I think then let's go ahead first product with reusable cloth pad, and then I think we'll do cups, and then we'll do the biodegradable pads in the end, because that's the shortest and the simplest. So before I start with cloth pads, I would just want to show you a couple of samples of how a professional cloth pad looks. So now we have a professional cloth pad which looks like this also. I'll explain how everything looks. These are the cloth pads which I think we make with the rural women and distribute it to the rural women. And I'll just show you the other cloth pad also. So
What's
now my
inside
question
the cloth pad, Nandini?
Yeah,
What's inside the cloth pad?
I'll just get down to that. So we do have an unstitched this thing of cloth pad. But before I go to that, can any one of you tell me that what all myths have you heard about cloth pad? क्यों नहीं use करना चाहिए कपड़ा या कपड़े का pad? We've all heard about a lot of myths, and especially after the movie Padman has come to the picture. So have anyone of you heard any myths about cloth pad? Ki why shouldn't you be using it?
I think most had to do with probably the way they were being used, or like the stitching, or the contents inside. Maybe because a lot of people in rural areas were already using them when they didn't have access to any sanitary products. So I think the only ones that I had heard was mostly to do with sort of like the sanitary disposal or hygienic cleaning of these for reusing purposes. Anyone else can pitch in?
Yes, someone has written, I've heard that they don't stay in place. Yeah, that's one of the common myths. How will they, how can you clean them or wash them? No myths per se, but just wondered about the maintenance movement and staining part. Yeah, very commonly asked question. Mostly washing and cleaning, not uncomfortable to wear, also cleaning them. Yeah.
Actually,
so
I'm
see
quite surprised because when we first got, I was never offered a choice. So I'm very surprised people know about cloth pads, because from day one you were handed a pad, right? And you never questioned it. Whatever your mother handed, you kind of just took to that. So we never got a choice till sort of recent years where somebody mentioned a cloth pad.
Yeah, so now that's exactly. So when as an organization, we've started creating groups of session, like for parents, for kids, separately for MNAC and different age groups, because that's what happens. That when parents, so we've started taking sessions only for parents who have kids of that age who are gonna start MNAC, because like how you said that, they know the choice is not given. So even the parents are not aware about the options. So how will they teach their child? And with young girls, we always tell them that, will you also tell your sisters, about the products? And we have sessions with men also. So then they are the ones who go back and tell that, so what are you using? Do you know there's another product like this? So we're trying to cater to a lot of groups so that, the awareness is more heard and people can switch. So now when we said that there are common myths, so I think the most common myth is, will it stay in the place? Will it leak? I mean, that's what ki heal jayega. It will leak. Let's say, how will we reuse it? How will we wash it and how will we dry it? That's one of the most thing people like, yuck, hum thodi apna period blood dhoenge. People always tell this. "Ki we've used it, like how will we wash?" So that's, I think, two, three most common myths. So let's get down to, initially, let's say, when everyone was using cloth, and the most common myth, I think, which we missed out is, kapde se cancer ho jayega. That's a very, it's a marketing tagline also. And I think Padman also really promoted that, kapda mat use karo, cancer ho jayega. Cervical cancer. But now the difference when we talk about cloth. So if you notice, we're talking only saying kapda mat use karo. We never said cloth pads, because that was only kapda. It was not any kind of sort of pad. So that is one thing. So what they used to do, imagine this is a kapda. Okay, so they would just fold it like this and just place it on the panties. That's all they would do when they say kapda use kar rahe. So definitely things like it will move, because you're just not going to be lying down the entire day. Definitely because it's just folded. There are no layers. It will leak. So that is one common thing. And third, what people started doing is when they used to use this kapda, they would wash it. They knew how to wash it and stuff. They would dry it, either on a stone, or let's say on a bush, or let's say even on a string. When they would dry it, they would dry it, putting on something which is very dry and, unclean. And they always used to dry it in a very dark place so that no one else sees it. So that are the three mistakes which has been happening. But when we talk about the cloth pads, so these cloth pads have wings. The main reason why people switch from the kapoda to a pad is because these companies started giving us wings to put it around our panties where it stayed on place. So the main reason was that. So now companies started actually making cloth pads with wings on, so which you can put it around and it does not move. So that is one thing which came forward. So this is here. So Kamakhya mein we use, towels for layers. But the professional pads, so they have these are the layers which are used. So this is called fennel, which is highly absorbent. And what they use on the end here is, like you can see the sheet. So it's called a PUL. So that's called polyurethane layer. So what happens is each pad, even the disposable pad, every single pad has that layer to make it leak proof. So these cloth pad companies started putting the last layer as the PU layers and the inner layers as this. So firstly, it became leak proof. Secondly, it did not become very thick. It became thin, because another complaint what people have with cloth is that bahut mota ho gaya, we can't function. It's very uncomfortable, like we had it in our chat. So that's why these pads, when they put these, and then there's a PU layer, and then there's a sheet like this on the top with wings. So this is made out of completely organic cotton. So like you'll hear also, our mothers a lot of times saying, and newborn babies, ki sirf cotton ka kapda use karo, or you wear UGs and undies with only cotton, to avoid any infection. So that's why we use the cloth pad ka front layer as fully cotton. So what we did with getting to do with this cloth pad is we eliminated leakage. There's layers, so it's highly absorbent, and because it has wings, so it stays in the place. So that's how cloth pad has become different from the kapda we used to use. And also a very common myth which we come across is people have started calling cloth pad as cotton pads. So cotton pads is basically like we're talking about Noah and stuff, but this is a cloth pad. So a lot of people confuse cotton and cloth pad as the same. So now a lot of people asked, how do we clean and wash it? So very simple, how you wash your own undergarments. And I think all of us in Mayo, we had to wash our undergarments. So there was no this thing we can give it to someone else. And now at houses, I don't know how it is. So I think we all are used to washing our own undergarments by our hands. So I think for us, it's even easier because we were always put into that habit. So suppose this is the pad you've used. and this is the side where you have your blood. So then you take this pad like this and you dip it in the water for hardly 2-3 minutes. And then you take it out. So majority of your blood will already be out in the water. And that water can be used to fertilize your plants. So because our period blood has excessive amounts of nutrients. So it is a very good manure catalyst. So if you're allowed to use, and I'm not saying please use it. So please, jaake koi tulsi ke, please don't put your period blood. Your mothers will kill, I think, Kamakya and you together. So please do it in a pot or something which you have separately. So just because people have done that, ki humko to bola, and they just go put it in any plant. So then what you do is, so you just dip it, you take it out. So here we say do not use a surf, or let's say all these detergents. Why? Because we're going away from chemical. So the more you put a lot of surf and then start scrubbing it, you put making your cloth pad absorb the chemicals from the detergents and the washing agent. So what we say is you should start scrubbing with the cloth pad like this. And believe me, majority of your blood will come out. It's only when you have little stain left, sometimes, then you can use a brush to rub it. Okay, only if you feel ki nahi bilkul hi nahi nikla hai, so you can use a drop of a detergent, but not like dip kar diya detergent ke pani mein. Don't do that. Then there's no point of you moving away from plastic and the chemicals from the usual pads. And one most common thing which we always hear is tell me what kind of water should you wash in? Cold water or hot water? Cold, yeah. So Pujati is right. So we should do it in cold water. But what we do, the mistake is, हमको तो period blood निकालना है ना, तो गरम पानी में let's put it. But what you're gonna do a mistake is, so whoever is experienced in the houses, whenever you have to take out a stain, if you put it in a hot water, your cloth is gonna hold the stain. So do not dip it into like boiling hot water here. Just put it in a cold water, or like let's say lukewarm water. That's it. And what you do is after you wash it, all you have to do is you have to hang it like this or this outside in a direct sunlight. Because like we spoke, they would dry it, but they would dry it in the dark. So that is what caused infection. Because I'm assuming all of us here have seen the movie Padman. And you'll see there's a process where they make you the pads go through the UV rays in the end, and then it's packed. And we have these UV rays directly in our own environment. So that's why when you hang your pads like this or this, then it's the UV rays need to pass through your pads to actually sterilize it. And then again, once it's dried, you can again use the pads. So that's how simple I think cloth pad using and washing is. How come the stain does not go from panty then? Okay, yeah, so they need to be washed straight after you've taken them off. What happens is the blood. So one thing is, stain does not go on the panties because I do not. What happens is we're not using pure cotton. We're using mixed synthetic materials. So with pads, we always used pure cotton. So the cotton actually leaves the stain faster than the synthetic materials. And the second question was, uh, so yeah, so it's not compulsory that it needs to be washed straight when you remove it. So even if the blood is dried, then you need to soak it in the water for longer while washing it. So that's with one thing. And most of us, I don't know if still someone is like, how will we wash our cloth pad? मेरे से तो ये नहीं होने वाला है, and everything, it's just disgusting. So just one question, and a scenario I would, want to give on a daily life thing is when you're on a period and you're using Stay Free. Okay, you stain your panties, you stain your pants, you stain your bed sheets, let's say, or your covering sheets. What do you do? Do you just throw it away? No, right? So that is when you go back and wash it. So when you can wash your period blood on these things, okay? So this is also a cloth. You can wash your blood. So that means the blood is not disgusting. It's just as simple as washing those things which you've stained and your cloth pads. So generally people say कि अरे नहीं हम नहीं फेंकते, and some people also tell us कि हम फेंक देते हैं. So that is one thing, like, if people, I don't know if they're saying or not, but that is what still happens, because as educators, we educate huge group of people and everyone says कि नहीं कर पाएंगे, ma'am, the नहीं हो पाएगा, so. But, then I would say कि if you cannot do this, start throwing everything you get stained every month.
Also, plus, when you actually bleed and wash and you see it, it's not stinky. It's not bad. It doesn't stink. So when you wash it, it actually doesn't feel that you're washing something very dirty.
So yeah, so like how Kanshati mentioned, so it's not the period blood is dirty. The problem is that we've created this conception in our head कि नहीं हम नहीं कर सकते ना, we can't wash it. So this is what we have created in our head. It's not, and so these marketing agencies started playing again with a psychology saying कि ganda hai, ganda hai, ganda hai, so it's all a marketing stunt. How can your own blood from your body which you come out can start becoming disgusting? So that's one thing. So with cloth pad, does anyone have any other question before we move to cups? Hello. I think I tried. So no one has any questions with cloth pads? How many hours does it last? So yeah, it can, so with normal pads, you need to change it with 6 to 7 hours minimum. But with cloth pads, if it's not filled, then one pad can also, you can wear it for like some 8, 9 hours. The reason obviously we spoke in the starting of the session is because of, it's because the actual pads are made out of plastic and it oxidizes. So you don't want that oxidization to go inside your uterus more. So that's why we ask you to change pads. But all that is not happening with the cloth pad. So if your cloth pad is not filled, you can use it for 8 to 9 hours also.
Nandini, given that it's a mindset thing, initially when you start using a cloth pad, how do you sort of be less insecure? You're sitting in a meeting, you are wearing a cloth pad. You know what I'm saying? How do you get over that mental hiccup more than anything?
So what we suggest, so towards the end, we will also tell you in combination of how you can gradually switch. So like with cloth pads, we advise that you start switching initially, so you'll take 3 cycles to switch. You just can't switch randomly on one cycle, right? Because like, are you saying there'll be problems like, ki kaise kare, ye sab. So then 4th or 5th day, we say when you have less bleeding to actually use the cloth pad, and then, so that you get more confident with it. And then to next cycle, then you can start using it on the 3rd day. And then you can just like gradually use it for all 5 days.
Actually, that's a very smart strategy. I didn't think of it like that. In my mind, it was a 0-1 choice. Thank you for making that clear.
I have a thing. Amishi, since you've been using these for a while, do you want to tell us how it's been for you in terms of just maintenance and ickiness and all these hang-ups that we are feeling in our head?
Hi everyone. So I actually stumbled upon them just by chance. Somebody sent them to me, and I'd always been looking, at the impact on the the biodegradable thing and the non-biodegradable. That impact had always bothered me. So when someone sent these to me, I gave it a try, and they're very comfortable. Like Pujadi, what you're asking, yeah, you do get a little nervous initially because you can't figure out, if you stain or not. But they're very comfortable. They feel like just regular pads, and they're big enough that you're not worried whether it's giving you enough coverage or not. And as Nandini showed us how to wash it, it's very, very simple. And honestly, Aarti, I didn't feel any ickiness or whatever because, again, you do wash your stained stuff. So why should this be any different?
Yeah. So exactly how like once you start using it, I think that's when it starts speaking. So because we have less of time also because we started late. So I have a team member, Drishti. So she will just brush through the cups, for basic things of do's and don'ts of cups. And then, I can just show the biodegradable pad so that, at least we can do basic things of, how these products look like.
Okay, so Nandini, before I start, I want to know how much time do I actually have, so I stick into that time.
So let's say it's 8 to 10 minutes.
8 to 10 minutes. Okay, everyone, be ready for a very fast speed speech, which might not be clear because cup is generally cup has a lot of doubts and a lot of insecurities around it because we have somewhere heard about cloth pads and we somewhere know what pads are, how it is. But cups, I personally have a lot of when I take a session and I see people have generally a lot of doubts and insecurities about cups. So here we start. I'll be really glad if I could see people's face so that I know if I'm going very fast or very slow. And if you can't switch on your cameras, thumbs up and thumbs down would be fine. Okay, so starting with cup. This is a cup. It is a silicone grade. It's a medical grade silicone molded into this shape so that it can store all your vaginal period blood. And this cup has different sizes and shapes. It generally, according to the companies, it comes in 3 sizes: small, medium, and large. But when we go on to the part where we don't have to, where are the parts where we don't use a cup, I'll tell you how to measure the cervix and how and which size can we select. So little till then, we'll postpone this topic of which size can I use and how can I select it. Okay, so now this is a cup, and a cup generally has 4 holes so that the vacuum is easily created and it doesn't leak. And it generally has measurings, I don't know if it's clear or not, it generally has measuring on this side. Now I'll directly jump to the part where I tell you that cup will change your life forever. You should switch to cups, and there are multiple reasons for it. Very first thing, it's very comfortable. You can go around naked. You don't have to wear an underwear because the cup holds the blood and nothing comes out of your vagina. And you can do n number of activities, like you can cycle, you can jump, you can do a somersault, you can go hiking, you can do swimming, you can walk naked around your house, and whatever you want to do. There are a lot of reasons, and so for everyone, there are very different reasons why they switch to cups. For me, it was basically, and mainly because of sustainability, because the amount of pads which are used when we are on periods is immense, and I'm very sure Nandini has already covered, and that's why I will not go to that. The other reason is it's very cost effective. So this single cup could be used for 10 to 12 years and for your entire cycles. So you just need 1 cup for 7 days. You then take it out, you wash it, you sterilize it, you store it, and use the same cup for the next time you get your periods for all the 7 days, 3 days, and wherever your bleedings are, till whatever time your bleedings are. I'll stop here. I know I haven't covered anything till yet, but I really want to know, do you guys have any very specific questions so that I can focus on that? Or do you want me to give very general information? I'll wait for 5 seconds.
So till the time Drishti, everyone is putting down, let's just tell them, with the help of a uterus model, we'll just let you know how to measure a size. So that I think we'll start with. Until that time, you can just start putting down the questions so that we don't waste time. And also, please pardon me with my uterus model today because I ended up breaking it right before the session. So it looks a little distorted. Okay, so I'm just going to be holding it like this so that you can't see. So now see, this is a uterus model. This is where what Drishti has been saying. So what ideally happens is this is the uterus and this is the cervix. Okay, that's where you insert your cup. That's when Drishti is like, you can walk naked, is because your blood comes out of here, and your pads which you use are like put here. So the cups are actually put here. So right, so the blood does not come out of your uterus, so it's stored here. So what you do is when you want to measure your size. So now why are we saying you measure your size like this is because generally in, on the websites, it says small is for unmarried young girls, medium is for unmarried girls, or, recently married. And this third is, if you had your pregnancy, then it's large. But with the lifestyle we're staying in, it does not stay the same. Okay, because we are active in sports and people are active, sexually active right before marriages and even young girls. So that's why the sizes are not the same now. So you take your index finger, that's this finger, and on your second of your period, you insert it inside your cervix. That's what you do. So if your entire finger goes inside, so you'll feel something stopping on the top. So you just stop inserting your finger. If your entire finger goes, that's above the second line, that means it's a large size for you. But only if your the finger goes till your second line or till here, it's a medium size. And if it just goes to your first line, so let's say just this much, so it's a small size. And someone is really finding difficulty, so we have conditions called low cervix when we measure. So then you do not use a cup. That means you cannot, let's say you're not eligible for using cups. Your body cannot hold a cup. Someone with a low cervix cannot use it. So that's how you measure your size. And also we have soft and hard silicone. So if your cervix is not very wide open because maybe you're a virgin or you're not active in sports, that is when you use a soft silicone. And let's say you have a very wide cervix, then you can use a hard silicone cup. Drishti, over to you to answer the questions in the chat.
Yes, those are the parts which are left. So I'll just start how. So there are three main topics. Actually 4 main topics we're going to cover. How to insert a cup, how to remove a cup, how to sterilize it in between your cycle and at the end of the cycle. And 4th, when not to use the cup. Out of which reasons? One, Nandini has already said. Okay, so cup has more than I think 20 folds if you go and search online. I'll tell you the 2 most easiest fold for me personally also, and for I think most of the women personally, or most of the menstruators. Okay, now the very basics, I'll just 1 minute. I'll switch off the background filter. Okay. Now, one of the most common folds are 7-fold. So you pinch one side inside and there will be a small hole on the one side. It will look something like this, like a 7. And then you insert, so suppose this is a hole, you insert it like this. And when it goes up, it gets popped open like this. So this is one of the folds. Second is you make a U or a C fold. You just press it, pinch it, and then press it in a C or U shape, and you insert it like this. For the first-time users, I would suggest 7-fold. You will take a little bit of trials and errors to practice this, but this method creates a very small inserting point, which is very easy to get in. So the holes are very small. So because of this small pinch, it goes in quite easier rather than C-fold or U-fold. Okay. Now when it's inserted, sometimes, and generally for the first time, you generally don't know that it's inserted properly or not. Will it leak? Will it not leak? So there's a method to check if it's inserted properly or not. If it's inserted and you pinch it, it will not come easily. You will feel that, a vacuum is holding it. So that actually means that it's fit in very nicely. And if you think it's coming out very easily, pull it out, try it again. And if you think it's not happening, you can put your finger and adjust the sides for it to fit. And that's it. Now, we'll skip 5 hours when you're on periods and when you are in the position where you're absolutely thinking that it might leak any point of time and you don't trust the cup for the first time. We come to the part where we can remove it. And how can we remove it? So it's I don't have time, otherwise I would have shared a very personal, funny joke around it. And I'm very sure you would have been like, oh God, that was so scary. But yes, what you do is you simply pinch the bottom, which releases the vacuum, and you remove it side by side. And it comes out that easily. And I don't think so there are other ways to remove the cup. So I'll just brief again. Do you lubricate it before you insert the cup? No. So so the period bloods are quite itself lubricating. You don't need to use a lubricant to insert it. And that is another thing. We don't use cup unless we are on periods. And if you think this is too dry, you can just put water around it and you can try. You don't need to use a lubricant for it. And if you think nahi ho raha hai, okay, kuch to chahiye, you can put a little bit of coconut oil on the rim and that's it. But I would not advise it for a very regular use. Now when it's out, you drain the blood, you clean it with fresh water. And if you don't have access to fresh water, you can just wipe it with a tissue or a wet tissue, unscented wet tissue, and you can insert it back and you can use it. You can use a cup, depending upon your flow, for 6 to 8 hours. And probably, I would not advise 9th hour, but yes, 6 to 8 hours. You can easily use a cup. A lot of people say that it can go up to 12 hours. And I think when your flow is very less, you can still stretch it like at the end of your periods. You can still stretch it to 12th hour. But I think 6 to 8 hours and 9 hours is enough. And I think that will be the time you go home and you have to pee and you'd let's just empty it and clean it once. And that's it. After 7th day, or after the time when your periods are over, you sterilize the cup. Now there are multiple ways of sterilizing the cup. The most easy and effective and suitable ways, which most of them use, is boiling it in the hot water. Now you can boil hot water. You can put the cup into the hot water for, I'm sorry, I dropped the cup. You can put the cup into the boiling water for 7 to 10 minutes. And that's it. Your cup is sterilized. You can store it in a pouch, or any company which you order cups from, they have their own personal pouches. So you can store it in that. If you think that, I can't put a pan or, anything over a stove and boil the cup there. So you can boil the hot water, take it into the washroom and put the cup into that water, hot water, like hot boiling water, for 7 to 8 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes. This is one of the ways. There are a lot of cup cleaners, but I think boiling is the most best way. Cup cleaners are solutions which you use to wash it, but I would not advise that. You can use it when, in case of emergencies, you're out there, you are traveling and you don't actually have anything to boil it. Hot water, if the water is too hot, you can use it. Not warm water, but hot water. If the water is hot, you can use it. There are a lot of cup sterilizers which come. It's a steaming machine where you place your cups and it sterilizes itself. So you can use that also. But again, putting it in the hot water is the best way and solution. Okay, Nandini, you want to?
Yeah, so I think we covered everything with the cups, leaving the 3 don'ts of the cups. I think Drishti has nothing to do. Yeah, so the 3 major don'ts of the cups is one, like what we mentioned, the low cervix. The second is if you have any urine tract infections, that's UTIs. And third is right after your pregnancy, that's your postpartum, you cannot use it. So that's the major 3 no's with cups here. When you say with fresh water, do you mean tap water? Yeah, tap water works. It was an so just towards the end, we just like to show you, so there's no explanation with the biodegradable pads. It's just that this is a biodegradable pad, okay, which looks similar to what we use. Okay, the only difference is you see this is little off-white because it's not bleached. Okay, if you notice the difference. And if you notice the difference, it does not have the gel technology right in the center. There's no gel. So that's what we do with the biodegradable pads. So now it is very simple. So we have companies called Sparkle and Sathi, which are fully biodegradable pads. So we've come across so many brands, but no one is fully. So they make out of cornstarch, bamboo fiber, and bamboo pulp. So they made out of plant-based things. So what we have to take care with the biodegradable pads is the only one thing is disposable. We cannot dispose it in the black polythene. That's all. So you can also use this in your wet waste if someone has their compost pits in their house. You can put it there because it's plant-based. And so this is all you do with the biodegradable pad. So again, it's disposable. But like how cloth pad and menstrual cups are little cost friendly, this gets little cost heavy because it's disposable. So we have the cheapest ones with 59 rupees of 7 pads. Whereas we buy some 30 rupees with some 15 pads. And also this becomes cost heavy. That's the only drawback of these fully biodegradable pads. So let's say why, so here when Kamakhya comes down to give a session, we do not ask you, ki ye cheez kharab hai, so you're supposed to be making a switch. Why do we talk about all the 3 products? Is to give you an informed choice. According to your financial, your geographical areas and availabilities. But we would suggest that if you're switching to a cloth pad, like I said, try it on the 4th, 5th day. But initial days, you can actually wear the biodegradable ones. So on the 4th, 5th day, then you can actually wear it for the first cycle, the cloth pad, and then gradually. But when it comes to a cup, you should only try it on the 2nd day of your periods for your first cycle, because that's when your cervix is the most wide. And for rest of the days, then you can use your biodegradable ones. And again, like how you were talking, Pujadi, about cloth pad time, we'll be like, will leak karega ki nahi, or we have those hiccups in our hands. So when you're using a cup, you can put a cloth panty liner close. So every cloth pad companies have panty liners. So you can put that also. So irrespective, by chance it leaks, because we're learning how to insert, you have another pad to take care of that. So this is like, this is like an informed choice. So you can make a combination of switches. And also someone had asked that is cup, this thing for a 12 or 10 to 11-year-old child. No, we do not advise cups for young girls below 18 years. Is largely obvious option if you have kids. No. So that's the issue, that it's not an obvious option. You might fit into a medium also. I'm sure small nahi hoga, but you might fit into a medium too. So do not make that mistake. And for cups, again, cloth pads, you can, if the mothers can really train your daughters well to wash it and all, it's, I think, a great switch. But cups, not before 18. It's very young for a girl who started a menarche to use a cup, because we are inserting in a cervix. But if someone is she's an athlete, or let's say she's very active in sports, like I used to do yoga, like I was the yoga captain in school. So obviously I would do splits, so my cervix was wide open. So that is when you can use cups with young. So I think over and all, we try telling you what the informed choices is. So I think would you suggest brands for cloth pad? Yeah. So let's say EcoFem is the best. Be Safe, EcoFem, and Mayavli. Let's say we recommend 3. And for cups, we recommend Stone Soup, Fee Club, and Secret Cup. So we advise few of the brands.
Nandini, do you think you could put the brands in the chat box?
Yeah, please. Drishti, can you put down the brands in the chat box while
because you hear them all the time. For us, these are first-time brands, so one is likely to forget.
Yeah, I'll just ask Drishti to type in the moment till the time I wind up. So before we wind up the session, so firstly, one thing I would like to say is that we hear how many of us even there. So idea is to create a chain. So if we are switching, we start telling everyone else to switch. We start telling people around us to switch. So I would at least, say, let's at least pledge to create the switch and start reducing the carbon footprint and, betterment for our bodies. So that's when actually, I think April is, I would draw like, that's where I think we're going to start tapping boarding schools, because agar unke like only Whisper was available in our store. So if we can, get these products available, I think when they will start switching it in the boarding schools, I think it, I think, would be the best things.
I think that's the right approach, Nandini. And this has been so informative and honestly a transformational session. I'm sure not just for me, but for many others as well. And I think this is the right way to go about guiding and sort of just, informing people and making them aware of the alternate options. Because while most of us may think we're using organic cotton pads, they're not truly biodegradable so far, is what we've learned today as well. And I'm opening up the forum for any questions, if that's all right.
Yeah.
If anyone has any last final things, you can just ask, just unmute yourself and ask. You don't need to necessarily type it in.
I think, Kansha, if we don't have questions, I think we can, wind it up if no one has any questions.
Sure. Pujati, over to you.
Thank you so much. Nandini, I have to really thank Ashina for introducing you and the brand and the concept to us to hold this session. I was curious, honestly, but I didn't expect it to blow my mind the way you did with this information and actually making me question. I wish I had made the effort to get to know more about this earlier. Ashina's not here, but please do thank her for introducing us to you. And I'm actually a tad bit disappointed too. I expected, because it's of personal interest to me, I expected more of an audience. We've really sort of put the message out. And I think we will come back to you. I am very sure we're going to put some material out, because I think it's a cause close to, look at all the questions here. Nobody here was somebody who said, I'm sitting, everybody had questions because they want to make the switch, I think. At least that's what I felt. So thank you so very much for really opening our minds to a very new concept. I am not saying I would convert immediately, but your cloth pads have got me hooked. Cups is seeming very adventurous to me because, but I think it is something. And I think you're on a very good track, by the way. If you remember, Delhi started the firecrackers campaign by targeting the kids, and the kids forced the parents to stop using the firecrackers. If you go after the young crowd, I think they will encourage their mothers and sisters and aunts to switch too. So I wish you all the best on behalf of all of us at the alumni committee. I really hope we are able to invite you back for a closed session. And you know what? I think what we'll also do is, given how passionate you are about this cause, one of us will be reaching out to you. Maybe we'll do a video interview with you and put it up when our new website is up. We keep hoping for it, but it's taking longer than we thought. Bear with us, but in another month or 6 weeks' time, we hope to be able to come back to you and do this. Thank you for taking this up on behalf of, the world. The world needs more warriors like you.
Absolutely.
Keep at it and reach out to us if we can be of help.
Thank you so much, Pujadi, with, I think, all of the to's and fro's of organizing this session. I think we finally did go through, but even I expected more people. But I think, so this happens to us, when we have less number, when people hear it, then they go like, nahi, ye to sunna chahiye tha,
Yeah, absolutely. I wish we had a
try to-
100x audience here right now.
So don't be discouraged. We are going to keep coming back.
I'm not
to you.
discouraged.
Yes.
We
Give us a
have
chance,
something
and
like that.
we hope to hold the session again. We'll take bits from here, go back, put it on Insta, and then see if we can get a larger crowd for you next time. And in any of our capacities, if we can help you with your with introductions, with anything else, you please let me know. We'd be there to help you with this. Thank you so much again for being here. Everybody else, you've been a fantastic audience. Thank you so much for your time and for being here. And Juhi, Vishwa, Yashasvi, thank you very much for sticking around till the end. The others I know are committed to the cause.
Also, Amishi.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing your experience. I think it's given me a little bit of confidence to try it with the next one.
Sure. Thank you so
All
much.
righty. Have a good evening,
Thank you, and everyone have a great Sunday evening.
Thank you for the session. It was really enlightening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Nandini. Thank you again.
Yes.
Thanks.